simple thing that could change everything for you. And it gives you an opportunity to kind of think about that. We'll talk about that next week. The importance and the power of just one thing. Go ahead.
And bringing that up this week gives us a chance to think about this year and what that one thing was a year ago when we heard that and what we've done with it.
Yeah, exactly. And when we talk about the word of the year, which we'll unveil next week, we pick a word. Well, and again, the process, I'll explain that very briefly again. I take the month of December, 30 days, and of course, 31 days. 31 days. It's not. Somebody handle that. And I this next year. What is it? And you would be surprised at the stuff he'll throw into your head that he needs you to focus on in the following year. And that again could be just one thing that could change everything. See, this all works together. This is not madness. Anything? All right. Then, after that sermon at the beginning of the year, we hit the book of Romans. And Romans. Which one would it be? And they picked the book of Romans. The book of Romans is the cross. It is the story of God and us, just in one amazing, giant, steak, meaty book of the Bible. The first 11 chapters, 1 through 11, talk about God's relationship with us. And as you read it, the church, the Jewish people struggle with that, this relationship with God. Well, does God really love us? Because there's Gentiles now that he's reaching out to. So how does this thing between God and us work? And the first 11 chapters are all about that relationship between God and us. And then there's a shift that happens in chapter 12 through the end of the book, chapter 16, which is now that you get this, the vertical relationship, how do I take that and how do I use that in a horizontal relationship with other people, especially those in the church? What does that look like? What does this relationship look like played out in the real world? So what you get in Romans is that. You get the cross. It's Jesus. So go ahead. Anything?
We get a lot of letters from Paul in the New Testament, and the letters to his churches and stuff. And Romans is a letter Paul wrote. Like, okay, if you could write a letter to somebody that where you didn't get a chance to start a church, tell them about the gospel, what would you put in it? That's what Paul's letter to the Romans is. It's like, hey, here's what the gospel is. And he talks about at the beginning about the world and what the world looks like and unbelievers, and then he says, but my righteous ones will live by faith. And it talks about faith and talks about Abraham and his faith, but then they still struggle. You read the Old Testament, Israel, they had some struggle. This one. And so he talks about the way God made a way to come and meet your faith. And we as people can't lay that sin down. We just can't do it. We tried. They tried in the Old Testament. They had sacrifices, so God made a way for Jesus to come and pick that sin up, to get rid of it for us. He came and met us and did something we couldn't do. And it talks about that, and it explains that whole situation and what salvation is. And then after we realize it, and it spends the rest of from like chapter 11 on telling us now this is how you live. This is how you treat each other. This is how you treat people in the world.
Right.
This is how you interact. This is what it looks like. And yeah, this is Romans, there's a lot of depth in Romans. So if you've never read any scripture before, you can start with.
Hot meals at the food shelter. If we could do that and that was what got us to heaven, then the cross was pointless. Then there was no point in Jesus coming and dying for us because good works could do it. And the cool thing, well, I don't know if it's cool or not, but Christianity is the only faith where good works aren't enough. All the other faiths, you climb the mountain to that God that you worship in another faith by good works. You achieve your salvation through good works, whether it be multiple reincarnations or good deeds that you do that pay off your karmic debt, and all of that. Christianity is the only faith where the God who created you comes down to be with you. We don't chase after him. He came down to Rome, to the church in Rome, and he says, stop fighting among yourselves. Because there's a lot of infighting, because that never happens in church, ever. No, never see it anywhere.